Hey everyone, it's Stephanie, and you're tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Season 13, Episodes 1 and 2. All right, y'all, I am back. A little late to the party, but back nonetheless. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Stephanie Lee. I'm a mental health therapist and relationship expert, and I've been doing reviews on Married at First Sight since, I believe, Season 6. I love reality TV. I'm not even going to hide it. So I decided to blend my professional and personal perspective, and I offer it every week. And we have a good time talking about Married at First Sight. I get to read and interact with you guys and get a lot of different perspectives. And it also creates a lot of great conversation, which I love, because I think if we're going to watch it, let's learn from it. So as I'm watching it, because a lot of times we're watching it and we're doing the same things, or we know people who do the same thing. So I think it's just a great way to really also learn and make it like edutainment, okay? For all of my older followers, hi guys, I missed you. Thank you for checking on me throughout the break. I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's get into it. Before we get started, do not forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos. All right, let's go. Oh, I'm also gonna bring my husband on. For you guys who know, I bring him on a few times throughout the season to offer like the male perspective. And maybe I might bring my son on. I have a 1-year-old, for those who don't know. He turned 1 last June. So for you guys who knew me last year when I was like, he's coming at some point, he is already 1, okay? So I might just bring him on too, just for a little, like you can't lose with such a cute little face. All right, so we are season 13. We are in Houston, okay? I, for one, am just so happy that we have like a brand new cast. I feel like season 12 took a lot out of me. So it's refreshing to have these new faces, and it feels different this time, okay? Let me know what you guys think, but I feel like it feels different because I know the last few seasons we've talked about how hard it is to watch and how it doesn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel organic, but I feel like this season feels so much better, okay? So let's just jump into it. We have 5 couples. I have my little notes here because I can't remember them just yet, but Bao and Johnny. So Bao and Johnny, listen, I like them, okay? I like Bao and Johnny. So Johnny, little background on him. Johnny's parents are divorced. Johnny's father has been out of the picture for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be worked out there. Johnny's kind of like, he's somewhat the perfectionist. They call Jose, who's another person, the perfectionist, but Johnny has some characteristics of having this list of things that need to be, his Excel sheet. Coincidentally, Bao has like similar perspectives, but they're both like very set in their ways. So I think that's gonna be a little bit of a problem for Johnny. More so than Bao. I mean, it might be a problem for Bao too, but the issues with Johnny's father, basically from what I recall, Johnny's father kind of like just left. And they've had like a difficult relationship, and Johnny still seeks the approval of his father, but my confusion is if he is so disconnected from the family, where is that desire coming from, and what does he need to do to kind of work that stuff out so that it doesn't leak into his marriage? Because Johnny is the one who's like, he wants the stage 5 clinger, and all of that to me is like red flags. He wants the woman to be so about him, and it's all about, and not in a healthy way, it's all about like filling this gap of insecurity for Johnny. To want a stage 5 clinger, I mean, there's something like problematic with that, because it's pick me, choose me, love me, so that I don't have to feel this gap of failure or a disconnect from one of the most significant people in your life. Your parents are 2 of the most significant people in your life for the most part, and so whether that relationship is healthy or not, or whether your parent just left or whatever the case may be, you're always going to find an alternate that would fit the gap of what you're missing. So you know, it's sad to see that Johnny's kind of seeking this and hoping and wishing it would be different, and even, you know, knowing that it wouldn't go the way that he wanted it to. And he was correct. His dad was not about this whole thing. Still kind of feeling like, what can I do to make it better? At one point, he even says, after the wedding is over, you know, he'll have to find a way to get forgiveness, which is huge. Like, that's the weight of what he's feeling, that he has to ask for forgiveness for seeking a non-traditional route to getting married. So there's a lot of stuff there, and it'll show up in the relationship, as it always does. If you don't clean that stuff up, then it shows up in the way that you interact or not with your spouse. What I love about Bao and Johnny, I love that Bao had the support of her family and her brothers. So they have a good, strong family unit. What I love about Bao and Johnny is their similar backgrounds and them being on the same page in terms of having the ode to the culture, the tea ceremony. That's really, really important. That stuff is really important. And I tried to kind of picture, okay, what if they were matched with someone who didn't come from that culture, didn't value it? It would be a little different, right? Because that's a lot. And I think it's fine. I mean, people interchange cultures all the time, so it's fine. But I thought it was so cool to see them match together. And coincidentally, they knew each other from the past. And I think it's really uncanny how they ended up together. So when I saw that, that was my first thought, that this season, hopefully, will be more genuine and have like a deeper connection. Because I was like, wow, you know, you go through college 10, 15, 20 years ago, and here you are later, you decide to do this very non-traditional route. And who do you end up with? Someone who held the same position as you did in college, and you know them, and they have the same background, they have the same desire to have the tea ceremony and engage the cultures, engage the family, pay homage to their elders. All that stuff is really, really important. There are real foundational things in marriage that really set the tone. So I love that they're on the same page with that. Yes, they'll have their ups and downs, because every couple does. But I like that they're kind of quirky. Bao is quirky, when she was like, he should find me attractive. Of course, you could tell she's kind of quirky. I mean, they did the whole build up to him being like a super sports fan, and she didn't love it. But I think that they're both kind of like, wow, we ended up together. How interesting is that? And how significant that is. I'm really hoping, you guys, I'm really hoping that, as they continue to navigate this whole season, that they really build something real, because I think they're having a good foundation. Sometimes I feel like Married at First Sight as of late has been like just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And this feels more thought out. This feels more like, oh, okay, there are some real matches here that could actually work. So that's Bao and Johnny. I love the tea ceremony. And is there anybody else who's thinking the same thing I am in terms of the weddings? They put more money into the weddings. There's more money into this season, because I feel like the tea ceremony and if you look at the floor backdrop for Johnny and Bao's wedding, and pretty much most of the wedding, they're absolutely beautiful. It feels like a real wedding, because we've seen some weddings in the past on Married at First Sight. It looks very microwave. Put this in the microwave for 30 seconds. Everyone's looks the same. It looks really cheap and very cardboard and very it looked like we had to get married in 2 weeks. But this season, I feel like they got the budget, because they definitely are stretching these out. 3 and 4 hours and 5 time slots. They have the budget to really make it something special. So I'm also enjoying seeing that, because it just feels so much better. So Bao and Johnny, I think, are off to a great start. They talked about kids immediately. So did another couple. I think it's great. Why would we beat around the bush here? It's not too soon. We're here and we're married, and we met 10 minutes ago at the altar. So I love that they're like, yep, we want to have kids. They're just kind of getting to know each other. They're on the same page. They even picked the same wedding colors. I'm loving them. Okay. And I think Johnny's hilarious. So yes, he has his little things, and so does she, but I like this match. It feels good so far. So that is Bao and Johnny. Next we have Mirla and Gill. So Mirla girl. I don't. Mirla is like to me she's like a Sour Patch Kid. You know, first they're sour, then they're sweet type of thing. I know sweet is probably there. It's there. It's there because when she was talking about, and this is after the wedding, I'm jumping around, so just follow. When she was talking to Gill about the importance of all children having access to quality health, quality education, and how she wants everyone to have that, and it's really important to her, and she feeds into her nieces and nephews. You see like a sweeter, softer side of her, a side that's more serious, a side that's connected to some real foundational things for her that are important. That's sweet. But but outside of that, she comes off with a really tough exterior. She doesn't come off super lovable. She comes off like a diva. She comes off like she prioritizes the superficial more than anything else, and it's not very attractive. You know, I'm trying not to judge so quickly going in because we'll see different facets of these people, but first glance, you know, the glance is not super cute, you know, because she just comes off like inflexible and her way or the highway. And I always wonder why people like that do this type of thing because if there's anything you have to be, it's you have to be open, you know. So what she didn't want, she'll tell you what she doesn't want more than she tells you what she does want. You know, when she was sitting there getting her makeup done, I don't want that. I don't want it to look like, first of all, how are you pointing to one of your friends' faces? I don't want it to look like that. So I was like, but it was less of what she wanted and more of what she doesn't want, which can be difficult because that person tends to maybe have a negative perspective if they can pick up what they don't want so quickly. And that's what they communicate versus saying, here's what I do want. I like Gill. I think Gill is sweet. I don't see any red flags with Gill just yet. You know, the red flags for them as a couple is they are on different pages in terms of like what is super important. Like they both want kids. They're both interested in those type of things. You can tell they both love to travel and they'll want to do that together because he said, okay, you're going to go to Colombia, stuff like that. And her thing is, I don't want my life to change and I want us to be able to spend and travel. So they have travel in common. But he is not necessarily a fan of, I have to have this, I have to have labels, I have to have whatever. I think he would be fine with someone who says, hey, I like nice things and I get them, but to prioritize them in a way where they feel like it is a must versus just something to have. I feel like broke whispers and broke screams and wealth whispers. Not to say she's broke, y'all. I'm just saying like usually people who can access those things and don't prioritize them or don't connect value of self to them, they don't really talk about it. They just have it and you can't even tell half the time. But people who are very in your face about it, there's more going on there. And so I feel like that will be a problem. You know, she mentioned something about red bottoms in her vows, I think. And his friend, I mean, they did a really good job editing because then they shot to his friend and the audience who like rolled his eyes. I think there will be a disconnect there. Is there potential for sweetness? Possibly, you know, because she says she loves to give massages and he seems like he wants someone who's kind of doting and, you know, loves chocolate chip. There's potential there. I think based on what I'm seeing now, it can change because we don't know all of Gill yet. Based on what I'm seeing now, the problem will be Mirla. The problem will be Mirla. And she also seems like very just rigid. It has to be this way. It just isn't. Not only is it not this way in the show, it's not this way in life. Like if you're married or in a long-term relationship, you know the compromise that has to happen when you're with someone because you're now building a life together and it's not always going to be your way. It's not always going to be their way. And it's not always going to be a way that you like. The compromise might be, okay, I'll take the L. I'll take the loss this time. It's not that important to me or it's more important to them. Or maybe I got my way a different time. So here's my time to kind of, you know, let him have it or let her have it. So, I don't know, that couple for me is, I saw them last night, and I was like, man, this could be good, but I just don't get good feelings about them long term. And it sucks that I say that so early, but I'm not usually wrong. Like most of the couples that stayed together last season, they are not together anymore. And I said they wouldn't be together. I was surprised that they were even together. So that's Mirla and Gill. But I like that he spoke Spanish to her mom and kind of like connected that way. Anybody who speaks a second language, the moment you hear your language, there's like just a warm feeling because it's like native. It's like something special, you know? If I hear somebody speak like Creole, I'm like, okay. That's interesting because what? I grew up hearing my parents speak Creole, you know? My family's from Haiti, if you don't know that. I was born in Chicago, but still, it's like, hey, when it's unexpected and you naturally feel a connection. So I love that he did that because although that was small, it was very significant to her mother because her mother doesn't speak English and his mother doesn't either. So when they meet the spouse and they're able to connect with them in their native tongue, there will be like this breath of like a relief there that I can now communicate with my daughter-in-law and I can communicate with my son-in-law and it feels more comfortable. So that is Mirla and Gill. Let me know what you guys think. Next we have Michaela and Zach. So Michaela and Zach are my fave. I'm just gonna go ahead and say they are my favorites. I really, really like them. They feel very natural. They feel like if we had a housewarming and we invited, you know, hey, you invite some of your guys, I'll invite some of my girls, and we bring them together, like they would be, you know, they're in the kitchen, maybe going for a drink at the same time, and they hit it off having a conversation. And he's like, kind of like the quiet, nonchalant guy, and she's like funny, loud, you know, Michaela when she walks in a room, and boom, they hit it off. I really was like smiling from ear to ear when I was watching them because they feel so natural and they're hilarious. How many times did you laugh when you saw them at the altar? They're hilarious. Going back a little bit, I feel like Michaela is being pegged to be like Brianna 2.0. You know, last season she's bossy. And so now we're hearing like Hurricane K and stubborn. And I'm like, I don't want them to typecast her, you know, because now we're waiting for it. I'm glad they didn't go overboard in the vows when the family was, well, not the vows, but when the family was saying she's a little stubborn. I'm glad that they left it at that, okay, because I guess we can all be stubborn. I can be stubborn. So I'm glad that they left it at that. So that he can just get to know her for who she is, not necessarily who he expects her to be based on this title that they've given her. I love the strong family support that they have on each side. Like his family, even though dad was side-eyeing him, like, you're serious? Like you can tell, and he's mature for 27 of this generation, a little questionable. 27 several generations ago was very different than 27 now. We all know. But you know, Zach is giving me a very mature 27. Michaela, you know, not too far in age. First of all, I think they hurt us, guys, because remember we're saying like everybody's so young. Like they're last season it was like much older guys, much younger girls, and we're kind of like, hey, let's match a little bit older, you know, individuals. I think all the guys are like 35. I think everyone is 35 except for Zach. I don't remember the women, but I think they match nonetheless. I think they have this great family support. Marriage is really important on Zach's side. One of the brothers is in a long-term relationship. The other's engaged. He's been wanting this for a long time. He seems thus far mature enough to rise to the occasion. Michaela she has very strong family background too, very close to her mom. Love like the sister dynamic, very close to her sisters. Her brother-in-law walked her down the aisle. You know, both Mirla, I believe, and Michaela, both their fathers are deceased. So there was like a very special, very emotional background with that storyline for them and how important it is and how it plays into their choosing and what they're thinking and what they're missing and what they would have hoped for. It was very sweet. It made me very emotional because a lot of you guys do know I lost my father last year. So that was very like sweet to see how they kind of like gave her the best that they could give her, knowing that no one can take that place and nothing that anybody says could make it okay. But it was really sweet. I mean, I'm getting choked up now. So we'll move on. We'll move on. So I love that they have very strong family backgrounds, because that's really important. When you don't have very strong family backgrounds going into a marriage, it's easy to create dissension because you've seen dissension. It's easy to get the wrong type of advice because your village, and which is oftentimes your family and very, very close friends, they'll pour into you what they have, right? So I can't pour something I don't have. So if all that I have is maybe dissension or unhealthy or dysfunctional family relationships, or a cynical view for marriage, then that's what I'm going to give you. So I love that they are surrounding them on both sides. That's really going to be key for them. And I love them. I do. I hope that, when we heard about Hurricane K and I don't care what's going on and I don't care, and then I come out of it and I'm sorry, I hope that she is able to, figure out how to deal with that with someone else. I always say that marriage is a mirror. So there's a lot of things that you only see when you get married, because we think that we're prepared. It's like, oh, I have this, I'm ready for this. And of course I'll have to compromise. Okay, sometimes you don't want to compromise. And sometimes you really don't see what you really look like. Like marriage to me is like the fitting room mirrors, that fluorescent light, not always a positive experience. And you assume you look a certain way, but then you get there and you're like, wait a minute. Okay, your girl's got to do some work, okay? So I hope that they both can see where they are falling short. I hope all of these couples can do that and then work on it so that they don't mess up what could be a really good thing, because their vibe was so natural. They just felt very natural. They were fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching them. I thought it was even hilarious when he was talking about like making lotion and crocheting, and she's like, oh, awesome. Like I could not stop laughing because I did that. Actually, my husband was talking about aliens the second time we went out. This was like in college, and I was like, that is so interesting. And I always joke now that I told him, like, I didn't care about that. I thought that was hella weird, but like, you were cute, so I went with it. Like, this is what we do. It's like, and like 10 years from now, they'll be able to say, or several years from now, she'll be able to say that was hella weird, but I went with it because you were fine. And, we just got married, so I couldn't be my true self. I could totally see it. So I'm excited. I am excited about Michaela and Zach, and I can't wait to see them. They're my fave thus far. All right, next we have Brett and Ryan. So Brett and Ryan, to me, neither really have any red flags. They both seem like down to earth. They both seem like they genuinely are ready for this next step. They're romanticizing it a little bit, but not like in a way that's like unhealthy or too much of a fantasy, just ready for the next step. Ryan's biological clock is ticking, okay? I think it was either age 26 or 28 where he said, okay, if I hit this age and I'm not married, I'm going to adopt. And then it got to 30, then it got to 32, and now he is 35, and he's like, listen, I want to coach my kids' t-ball team. I want to be very active with my kids. So he is ready. He's kind of just like, whoever I find that is the right person for me, I'm ready to kind of jump in with both feet. And it feels genuine. He feels genuine. He is welled up with emotion, kind of ready for this next step. And it just feels like he wants this bad, but not in a desperate way. Kind of like, I really want this to be the right thing. Because if you gotten to this point where you're willing to do this, then you really, for the most part, people really want it. Brett seems mature. She has the support of her family and friends. She seems ready. They both seem to just be good, down-to-earth people, ready to meet someone without outlandish expectations and, some of the quirks that we're seeing with other people. He has to be this, he can't be this, or she has to be this. Like, no, they just want kind of like the same thing. So I feel like they're two like ships that are going the same rate. And I think if they have a good connection, they could go the distance if they're genuinely attracted to each other and have like a good camaraderie, I think that they can go the distance, because they seem very simple, and not in a, simple is not always negative. Sometimes we identify it as that, but simple, like, I am here for what you're here for. Let's go together. So that's pretty much it. Brett and Ryan, there's nothing that really sticks out to me. If there is something that you find interesting, please let me know, because I do read all the comments. I don't always get to them, but I do read all the comments. So yeah, that's Brett and Ryan. I like both of them separately, so I hope that they have a spark, and we'll go from there. Last but not least, we have Jose and Rachel, I believe. Is it Jose and Rachel? Yes, Jose and Rachel. Okay, so Rachel has had this transformative experience over the pandemic where she lost 35 pounds, and she worked really hard to get to that, and I'm sure that has taught her a lot about herself and just the discipline and the commitment, and increasing her self-esteem and wanting to kind of get to the next step with people, and not changing who she is, because she mentions in past relationships she has formed herself into who would be comfortable with that person in that relationship, and not necessarily being true to herself. So she's had this transformative experience where she really wants to meet someone. This earring doesn't want to stay in. She really wants to meet someone who is on the same page, who will accept her for who she is, who will just spend time with her. All she wants is like, hey, you know, I do this alone, I do that alone, like, let's do this with someone, and share a life with someone, share time and space with someone. She seems to be very genuine. There's nothing that I really see that's like outlandish about her. She seems to be very sweet. Jose, here's the thing. Jose seems nice, okay? His family's supportive. Of course, most families are kind of like, what? You know? But his family's supportive, and he's ready for the next step. Jose is very accomplished, and he's typecast as the perfectionist. I feel like Jose is the reason why Jose has not found someone, okay? And a lot of times we all are, right? We all get in our own way, but Jose for me is like, I don't even think I could say what I want to say, but he is really on his own jock. That's a cleaner word. He's kind of like on his own self. Like, here's this list of accomplishments I have, and I have not met someone who has risen to that level. You know, that's what it comes. He needs to do this. I mean, he mentioned he had a scroll of questions to ask his intended, and how overwhelming is that? I think he said it was like 200 something on there. If it's 100 something, it's still 100 too many. Like, how about we just get in and we just feel it out, and then we ask those questions. I mean, there's some questions we need to ask, right? Let's just do that. Let's make it natural. The thought, and he works for NASA, so I get it. But like, some things that work for us in our personality don't necessarily work in certain areas and make us very successful, don't necessarily work in other areas. So if you're like super assertive and super aggressive, and at work, that means you get the job done and you're the go-to, chances are that's not going to work at home, because your spouse is going to be like, okay, you got one more time, and I'm going to, you know, you're going to have to reel it in, okay? So what has made him so successful in other areas of his life clearly has gotten in the way of being able to connect with someone. My problem with Jose is that he has this list of accomplishments, and therefore someone needs to meet that. You know, I paid off all my debt. I bought 2 houses. I work for NASA. I do this. I do that. Okay, that's great. And so, yes, you want someone who maybe takes pride in what they do. And like, there's not enough area for flexibility. There's really no flexibility. It's like, I hope I meet someone who's to my level. Okay, well, where your level may be that you're accomplishing these areas, in a certain category, your level may be really low. Like, for me, Jose needs someone with high emotional intelligence. Jose may not have high emotional intelligence. So that there are things that will carry you through a marriage and really sustain a marriage, and it's not necessarily that you've bought 2 houses or you work for NASA. A level of sensibility, a level of flexibility, a level of problem solving, a level of respectful conflict resolution. We've talked about it, me and my husband have talked about it on other videos, like rules to engagement, rules to arguing. Like, if you kind of don't set the rules, now listen, when you're in the heat of the moment, do you always follow the rules? No. But if they're not laid out, then you don't know that you've crossed it. And if we know we're going to something that we're going to cross, then we might pull back and say, let's just pause right now for, before it gets whatever. You put tools into play where you can have like a respectful, healthy relationship that you can like grow together with. Those are the things that sustain it. So being very accomplished is great. There's a lot of very accomplished, lonely people who don't have the emotional intelligence to connect with people enough to build a life with, or to be someone that people really want to be around. So like, to me, Jose's walking around with like, no, I haven't met someone to my level. Chances are if he met a carbon copy of himself, he probably wouldn't like that person. And it's not to say that he's not a nice guy. He seems nice, he seems friendly, but are you really looking at the things that could really sustain a relationship, or things that could challenge you to grow? You're not at a place where you can't grow, that you don't need to evolve in any capacity. So maybe let me find someone who isn't at the, first of all, let's take this level thing out. And listen, when you're accomplished, you do want someone who is about something. That's fine. I would never not say, okay, well, you don't need that, take whomever, because I wouldn't. But maybe someone brings something to you that you need. You may not always like it, but you need, or that fosters something different, or fosters a great relationship. And so she might be like a teacher, which is perfectly fine, okay? But in my mind, Jose's like, I work for NASA, I need someone who does that. Well, this teacher may be significantly more accomplished in life, in maturity. Those are the things that are long term. So I think it's important to, like, whenever I talk to people about, compatibility and things that you want in a marriage and things that you want in a person, yeah, there should be like a short list, a 5-point list of non-negotiables. And then there's room for flexibility, because the thing that you think you might have to have might be the hindrance as to why you're not able to move on and connect with someone, because you're in your own way. And then there's, at the end of the day, and like the pandemic, if nothing else, that's the most recent thing, that it should have taught us that there a lot of things you think you need is not what you really need at the end of the day. So this list that Jose has, look, like, Jose is the problematic one for me, and it doesn't mean I don't like him. He seems very nice. I think they'll get along great, but I think that he's gonna get in his own way, possibly in terms of what he thinks he needs, and it may not necessarily be. Not that she isn't, but just the way that he presents. So we'll see, but I'm hopeful. I'm excited about this new season. It's refreshing. All the weddings are beautiful thus far. There seems to be like some really good connections. The expert seems to have really put some thought into, I don't like when they do, well, this person said they don't want this, so let's give them this and hope that they get out what they, you can do that a little bit, because sometimes people can be superficial about their stuff and you have to help them see what they're missing. But I feel like these matches are some of the best matches we've had in a very long time. All right, that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys thought. Thank you so much for watching. As always, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next week. Everyone have a great weekend.